Hello everyone, welcome to Desker's YouTube channel. My name is Saurav, one of the co-founders at Desker. In this video, we'll be talking about product feedback and how to set up your product feedback process. Continuous improvement to the product is the only way to build a business. It's not something you can decide to put on hold for some time and come back to later. If you do that, you run the risk of becoming obsolete like this dinosaur. Feedback on how to improve your product will come from a variety of sources. In the initial days of your product, it might be okay to manage it on an ad hoc basis. There is no reason to burden the system with more processes if it's not required. Doesn't need to be an overkill. As the number of people who use the product increases, so will the feedback. And at some point, you will need to build a feedback process. The first step is for you to understand what is the problem or what are the problems that people are facing when they give you feedback. Is it that they don't hear back from you fast enough, or they're not able to track the feedback they've given? It could be anything. So once you've identified those key problems, you build out a process that actually solves that problem. In the beginning, please keep it simple. Don't jump the gun and buy fancy tools that gives you amazing features. It might be an overkill and it might add extra overhead to your team. Start simple. This might be controversial, but in the beginning, start with a manual process. Write down everything that you need to solve for your customers to make it easy for them to give you feedback. And try to see if you come up with a simple process using the tools that you already have to solve it. For example, you can start with an email address, productfeedback@xyz.com, or a Google form. By implementing this manual process for some time, what you will be able to find is how people are interacting with your feedback processes. So when the time actually comes to go out and buy a tool, you know exactly what features are important for you and what are not. At the end of the day, the feedback process needs to be easy to use. It needs to be intuitive. It should not be time consuming for users. They should be able to give the feedback really fast. And it should be easy to manage for the product manager. What's the most important part in this process is for you to first find the answers to the following questions and create a process. First question is, who is giving the feedback? Does most of your feedback come from your internal stakeholders or customers? How do they provide the information to you? Is the information that you currently get enough? What information do you need in order to make the feedback actionable? How often do you want to go through the feedback as a product manager? Do you want to check it every day, once a week, twice a week? How much time and capacity does the product team have to manage the feedback process? In order to help you build your feedback process, we're going to go over a few things. First is we're going to discuss the key sources from where you will get feedback. The different types of feedback that I've seen customers and stakeholders give. The information product managers need to collect. The different levels of priorities that the feedback needs to have. How often do you update and how do you update the feedback? And finally, visibility between internal and external. How much of the feedback do you want to make available for everyone to see? Okay, so we'll start with the key sources. In most cases, you will get your feedback from either your internal stakeholders, which is your sales, customer success, support teams. It could be something people have heard during the demo of the product to prospects, onboarding of new customers, troubleshooting problems that existing customers are facing while using the product, and something that the team has found while building or testing updates. The next is customers. They are the next source of information. They use your product to run the business. the needs are always changing. And with the changing need comes new use cases that need to be fulfilled. So those new use cases will come to you as product feedback. And the last one is prospects. People who are currently evaluating your product to see how it compares to everybody else out there. This kind of feedback helps you stay competitive in the market for a long time. The next is types of feedback. Feedback can be broadly divided into 3 types. The first one is a new product or idea. This is a completely new product that does not exist today. A lot of these kinds of feedback comes from the sales teams in their conversation with prospects. They provide a view into the evolving needs of customers and the competitive landscape of the industry and how it's changing. When looking at these kinds of feedbacks, take notes on the following. What is the problem that the user is trying to solve? Is it the same problem that we as a company want to focus on? Is there a feature in the existing product that actually solves the problem but isn't obvious enough? Or is there a workaround that can provide temporary relief to the customer? The second type of feedback is enhancement to an existing product. So the product exists today, but users are looking for new features or new use cases that can be solved with your product. So how would you differentiate between a new product and an enhancement? Sometimes the lines kind of get blurred. So for a moment, let's look at Google Calendar, right? Everybody uses a calendar and you're the product manager for Google Calendars. You get a feedback which is basically asking you to enhance note-taking capabilities to your calendar so that during meetings, people can just take notes within the Google Calendar. And when you go through the feedback, it almost seems like they want Google Docs inside Google Calendar. Now that sounds like a completely new product, right? So in my opinion, something like that can be marked as a new product idea. You get another feedback. This time, the user is asking for more notifications, more control over the type of notifications they get from their calendar. This to me seems like an enhancement to Google Calendars because notification features already exist. The last type of feedback is a bug. Something is not working the way it's supposed to. It can either be an issue with the product that you need to fix, or the users are trying to use a feature in a way it's not meant to be used. In that case, what the users need is a little bit of training. Next up is the information you need to collect. And this is really a balancing act. You should get enough information so that you can take the next step in the process, but it should not be so much that it becomes cumbersome and it deters people from giving you feedback. Some of the information that I have used in my product feedback forms is, contact information. Who is giving the feedback? How can we contact them? Their name and email address. What type of feedback do they want to give? Is it about a product, new product, enhancement, or a bug? What is the problem they are facing? How do they think we should solve this problem? Can they provide us any screenshots or videos or anything else that might help us understand the problem a little bit better? And finally, how important is it for us to fix that problem? Most likely, you'll be able to get the contact information like names and email address from within your system. So it helps you make the feedback form a little bit shorter. The other aspect is the last point about how important is it to fix the problem. Sometimes it can cause confusion among users. What I have seen is most users, when they're providing feedback, they would say that it's very, very, very important to solve the problem they're facing. And I get it, like it's really, really important for them. But as a product manager, the company have to see how that problem fits into the grander scheme of things. How many other people are facing that problem? You have to do all the due diligence before actually setting a priority on it. So it can go both ways. You can let them fix a priority, or you can do that yourself. Really open to discussion, and depends on what kind of users does your platform have. What you can also do is you can divide the feedback process into two different parts. One is just feedback, which is new idea, product ideas or enhancement, and the other is bug reporting. The support team can manage the bug reporting aspect of it, and take the help of the product team to set priority on it. So depending on the size of your team, the internal dynamics within your organization, you can decide how you want to do that. Have a one common window for all types of feedback, or divide it into two. Totally up to you. The next step in the feedback process is, as a product manager, you have to set a priority on the feedback. So you'll go over the feedback, look at it, see if all the information is there. If it's not, then you need to send it back to the customer or the user for more information. Once you have more information and you had a chance to do your due diligence, you'll set a priority on it. In general, you can classify your feedback into 4 levels of priority, P1 to P4. P1 is the highest level of priority, and this is the kind of feedback that needs immediate attention. The engineering team needs to start working on it soon, very, very soon. P2 feedback is things that are important and the team needs to pick it up in the next few weeks. P3 features are things that are nice to have and would be great if someone can start working on it within a month. P4 is just things that make sense, but there is no plans in the immediate future for you to work on it. When we've talked about the P1 to P4 priority, I've spelled out some days, weeks, months. These might change depending on what the life cycle of your product is, how often you release, and how unique your industry is. Once you've been able to set a priority, it's important for you to go back and update the feedback so that the user or the person who's given you the feedback knows what is going to happen next. In general, you can have 4 different types of states for the feedback. One is will likely not do. These are mostly P4 requests that you'll most probably not work on. The second status is backlog. These are all the things that have made it to the queue of the product team and will be picked up at some point in time. The third is in development. Your idea or the feedback that you gave is currently being worked by the team and will be out shortly. And the fourth is released. All the features that have been released, all the ideas that are live on the site and you can use it, are marked as released. See, it's important for you to keep the statuses of all the feedbacks updated, because a lot of time different users might give you the same feedback. So if they're able to actually search the feedback and see someone having provided the same feedback 6 months ago and the team had worked on it and released it, they might be able to go back and use the product without actually reaching out to you. So it saves everybody a lot of time. It's a win-win situation. The last part you need to think about when you're building a feedback process is visibility. Internal versus external visibility, internal feedback versus external feedback. How much visibility do you want to provide stakeholders into the feedback process? It is important to consider this when you build out your process, because in an ideal world, you'd want everybody to know everything and to be able to dig down into the last level of details. But what I have seen is that sometimes too much information can confuse the hell out of people. And that's what you don't want. So make sure you understand your user personas and understand the kind of or the level of information that works well for your stakeholders, and provide them visibility, provide them access to that level of information. See, the reality of it is that you'll never be able to build everything that people want, no matter how big your team is. And one of the goals also to build a feedback process is to provide voice to your customers. Sometimes they don't expect you to, build out everything they're asking for. They just are looking for a forum where they can express their opinion and also understand your point of view. Through a feedback process and a forum, users feel empowered to share their opinion. They feel like they're being heard. And they also are able to find out that there is a rationale behind why some things get built and others not. A strong feedback process does that, and in the long run creates user loyalty. As a product manager, you should always keep doing two things. One is, whenever you get an opportunity with users, stakeholders, customers, share the product vision, the product roadmap, tell them about the updates you're going to do that you picked out from the feedback forms and how they fit into the larger scheme of things. The second one is, whenever there is a user feedback that actually makes its way into development and is released, go back to the users, tell them, hey, we listened to you and we made updates to the product based on your feedback. I hope watching this video will help you create your own feedback process and help you choose the tools eventually as you grow and your small manual in-house process is not able to scale. If there is anything you'd like us to discuss further, something that we might have missed, please share it in the comments section, and on your way out, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.